You're the host, Karen. Older American act. And more info.
Next one, Nishi. So one of the sheet, I very good say this Monday, Sunday, but I'm not, I take it, she then, what is, in general, yeah, and I see.
What?
To see there's commanding.
Veterans tomorrow.
Tomorrow, but
But we're on the changes session.
although today is not here, you know.
I'll get rid of them. We have quite considered that.
Well, we got a phone.
I see, yeah.
Here's a corn. Well, I want a motion for. Chair. I voted for him.
Yes, you do have a quorum. Oh, that's Josh.
Sure.
Okay, with that, so yeah, 8 minutes. My name is Andy Nez. I sitting member to the Health Education and Services Committee. To my colleagues, good morning, staff, good morning, good morning as well to our attendees. I call this meeting to order this morning at 8:12 a.m. We will do a roll call. Staff, can you assist us with roll call, please?
Good morning, Pro Tem Chair and members of the Health Education Human Services Committee. Roll call for special meeting August 15, 2023 at 8 a.m. at the Sunrise Conference Room in Winter Rock, Arizona. Delegate Helena Nesbegay. Delegate Helena Nesbegay entered roll call. Delegate Vince R. James. Delegate Dr. Andy Nez. Dr. Andy Nez entered roll call. Delegate Jermaine Simonson. Delegate George Toth.
I'm here.
Delegate George Toth answered roll call. Delegate Curtis Yanito.
Present.
Delegate Curtis Yanito answered roll call. Pro Tem Chair, you have 4 members present. 2 members did not answer roll call, constitutes a quorum, including yourself.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Thompson. We will move on with the agenda. Roll call in rotation. She get honorable folk.
Okay, thank you, Chair, Pro Tem Chair, all of you, as the committee members, also, first to staff here at the education. Yeah, long comment, I mean, it's not that. Now we see, we want some dogs, so there's Yeah, we go from being so the guy is crazy. And then it's the main Never hear that in comments, which is but all you get is to go into a bar and that stat. Take a different. God, no, they. So it's more. Okay, no, I'm loud on. Yeah, no. The object of this is very about.
Yeah, I can totally define the one thing you, but have a good day today. And we are moving on to announcements, any announcements from my colleagues. Going once. Twice. 3 times, no announcements, just following our HEHSC meeting here, we do have another meeting at the chambers beginning at 9, one top forum is met. And we do have HEHSC meeting tomorrow as well, that will be at Fire Rock. So moving on to item number 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. Again, just welcome to everyone who is here present with us in the conference room here at building. Our colleagues. Recognizing guests and visiting officials, 1 twice. Colleagues, just this activity, it's just to help HEHSC members. Yeah, but thank you for being here. Yeah. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 3, review and adopt the agenda. I will give it to our legislative advisor, Ms. Angie.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Pro Tem, members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. You have your proposed agenda for the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee from the Nomination Council special meeting August 15th, 2023, 8 a.m. Presiding Pro Tem Chair, Dr. Andy Nez, also the Honorable Ben Sargent, Chairperson, Honorable Jermaine Simonson, Vice Chair. Place is a sunrise conference room with the Department of Domain Education via telecommunications in the Rock Now Formation, Arizona. 1, call meeting to order, roll call invocation announcements. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journals. 5, receiving reports. 8 is a report from First Things First Navajo Regions. Presenters are May Mari, Sosi, Regional Director, Navajo Nation. and Rodina Jordan DeHosen, Program Coordination Specialist. 6 old business, none. 7 new business, legislation A is legislation number 0153-23, B is legislation number 0191-23. 8, close the meeting, announcements and adjournment. Mr. Chair Pro Tem.
Hakoshi, thank you, Ms. Benali, for reading that into the record. Colleagues, I'll ask for a motion. Motion first by Honorable Helena Nesbitt, second by Honorable George Toller. With that, colleagues, are there any modification, changes, or addition to our agenda? Colleagues, I did receive an email from First Things First, indicating that they are currently Twin Arrows hosting a hearing event there. So I'm not sure if you just need them to tomorrow's report.
I can get a hold of them and see what date might be convenient for them.
Okay, so at this time, colleagues, I'm going to make a include to the motion party to remove item number 5A report from First Things First, being that they're not going to be. Any others? Okay, with that, I will go to a vote on the proposed agenda. Ms. Benali, can you assist us with the vote?
Yes, this is a vote to approve the Health Education and Services Committee's agenda. Delegate Helena Nesbitt. How do you vote? Great, thank you. And Delegate Vince R. James. Delegate Dr. Andy Norris. Yes. Delegate Janine Simonson. Delegate George Toth.
I'm here, up with, green.
Delegate Curtis Anita, how do you vote?
In favor.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and the chair pro tem not voting, and you have 2 members absent.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Benali. Colleagues, with that, we do have an adopted agenda before us. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, review and adopt the journals. There are none. So we're going to move on to item old business. There are none. New business legislation number 0153-23. And at this time, I'm going to pass the gavel on to Honorable Helena Nesbitt, because this is a legislation that I am sponsoring.
Actually, the floor is UCR for your legislation. And we'll go ahead and read the legislation.
Yes, Madam Chair pro tem, you have your number 7 new business legislation 0153-23. And it is a proposed sanitary resolution to the Nation Council for Year 2023, introduced by Delegate Dr. Andy Nez as sponsor. Tracking number 0153-23, announcement related to the Health Education Human Services Committee confirming the reappointment of Nona City to the Nation Labor Commission. The legislation, the Health Education Human Services Committee does have the final authority for this legislation, and the legislation has been electronically put into record. The legislation also has Exhibit A, which is the letter of interest by Miss City, and Exhibit B is a resume by Miss City. Chair, after you have the transmittal letter from the Office of Legislative Council, also the legislation has served a 5-day comment period, public comment period from July 12th to July 17th, 2023. There is 1 supporting comment that was received, and it is attached. Otherwise, there was no other comments, public comments that were issued. Mr. Chair pro tem, or Madam Chair pro tem.
Okay, does anyone have any question on this level? Motions?
Red motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and motion then. I need a motion for it.
Yes.
You, okay. I think that's what. And then second. George. Thank you. I go on the, do we have any,
Yeah, that was some quick.
you have questions or whatever then?
Christine, yeah, colleagues, Yanana, good morning. This legislation before you is with Honolulu City, comes from our wonderful community of defiance. Kodo South, and though that he, I got the commission as the, as a nomination labor commission. This appointment is to reaffirm that appointment to continue the work that she's been contributing on the nation's behalf with the work. So actually, I did that they were using though actually that she told me I mean that's a case of she thought again, but so at this time, colleagues, I will defer some time here to Ms. to elaborate on yourself as well as
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And to thank the committee. My name is Nona City. I'm a Cherokee born for Cherokee. My mother is much Cherokee kind here. I've been with the now Nation Labor Commission for 5 years, and for 4.5 years I've been the chairperson. With the Navajo Nation Labor Commission, you don't see very many advocates. You see a lot of attorneys. I guess the pay is pretty good for the attorneys who represent corporate corporations. And I've been chairing for the last 4.5 years, as I said. I'm a tribal court advocate and have been licensed for 43 years. Practice criminal, civil, so I worked for DNA. I started out as a legal secretary at DNA, so a lot of the legal writing from having to type state, federal, and tribal appeal. And so legal writing isn't taught to a lot of us. So as a legal secretary, I think that was a bonus. It was very helpful throughout my career. I then went to Navajo Nation office of remember the name, legal services, and we did criminal and civil cases there. I stayed there for 20 years, and we were recruited by Tim Joe, who at the time was a prosecutor, was chief prosecutor. I worked for him for 3.5 years as an Navajo Nation's deputy chief prosecutor. After that, I went to Detroit Justice, served as the Indian Welfare Advocate there, giving advice to civil services. We did state cases about children home to families, and I also did child support at that time. I did ICWA for 19 years and child support for 18 years. Thereafter, I retired and continued to work. I do child support cases on contract for the Navajo Nation throughout the 5 agencies. So I'm on the road 5 times out of the week, out of the month. And like I say, I chair the labor committee, which is where it comes. In a nutshell, that's who I am. I don't speak the language too well because when I was growing up, I lost the words and really pronounce the words I can do. When you're young, you just back off, and you try to communicate with everybody will have to say, well, that's cute, but you don't understand what they're doing, so I kind of backed off but I don't have any problems with, communicating with our elderly. A lot of that is just out of love for them. So we try to do my best to provide services if that's needed for, just to make time. So that's who I am. I come from Old Sawmill. People say the Smith kids from Old Sawmill, therefore there's kids from Old Sawmill, there's Smith kids from Old Sawmill. And so, I lived here and I was raised by my mother's and the Navajo people. I don't think I've told you that else ever. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Thank you, Ms. City, and colleagues. Again, thank you for giving an opportunity for us to present this legislation as well as learn more of Ms. City. I know there's probably a lot of time up, but with that, I will conclude the presentation there and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, actually, I'm so passionate. And I give the gavel back to you, should say that. Anything else on?
Good morning. Again, Shadid, thank you for taking over while we were trying to figure out what we're going to do with Division of Health. Again, thank you. You guys are on legislation number 10153-23. And sponsor did provide his legislation, and then also the agent, Ms. City, did provide her information as well in regards to legislation number 0153-23. In that, in the packet, there was some brief touch up in regards to the resume that's attached under Exhibit B. So, committee members, I leave it up to you as the motioning party. As the motioning party, it is Honorable Curtis Anito and Honorable George Toth. So with that, committee members, are there any questions in regard to legislation number 0153-23? Committee members? This legislation final authority is Health Education and Human Service Committee. Do we have anybody from Navajo Nation Labor Commission? Do we have a representative? No, nobody from the Office of Navajo Nation Labor Commission Office? No.
They're having a hearing right now as I speak, so.
Okay, so going twice, if there's no questions, commission member, committee members, Honorable Curtis Anito.
Yeah, I have a question on, you mentioned the child support. And, you know, what's your position? What is your goals for like the future being collected? Children, that, you know, that's being supported like this child support, you know. What was your plan for the future when you collected children?
You know, when COVID hit,
Ms. City,
Yes.
we have procedures here at
Oh,
Health
yes.
Education and Human Service Committee. So with that, I'll come back to you once I give some time for a response. Committee members, are there any additional questions? If not, I will go ahead and give it back to the sponsor, Honorable Dr. Andy Nance, for a response with his agent.
Thank you, Shazad. Chair, I don't like that idea personally for asking the question here. Ms. City, I'll give her time to respond.
thank you. When I first started in child support at the Department of Justice, we were just starting out. And I think that the collections at that time were like maybe 1,500. And today, that amount for child support is now at 9 million. So I think that the accomplishments that have been made through child support are vast and very, very successful in that respect. And when COVID hit, one of the things that really laid on my heart was the school lunch program that many of our children were involved in. What was happening to our little children. So I asked the attorney who worked for DOJ, both attorneys, I had two attorneys, one from the city and the other from Little Rock. I asked them if we could continue our hearings because I didn't know, or they didn't know, what was happening to our children during that time. And so one of the examples I like to give you was the road was really bad one day and I was traveling to Tuba City. I got a call from Tuba City staff asking if we were going to have hearings. And I said, yes, we're going to have hearings. And so I continued my travel, and the lady told me, well, it's pretty bad out here. I said, yeah, I know the roads are bad. I know the weather is bad, but we don't know how many children we're going to make a difference for. And if it's just one child that we can get child support, that's going to be worth it. Continued on, and for that day, the child support officer had three successful hearings where the fathers were willing to pay child support. And that makes a difference in a child's life. So I think that my accomplishments from 1500 when we first started back in 1992, I think it was 9 million. It's our Navajo children.
Thank you. Does that complete your response?
Yes.
Okay, Honorable Dr. Henry? Yeah. Okay, so with that, committee members, are there any other questions? Honorable Curtis Unito, follow up.
What do you think about like these kind of violators becoming registered, what we call those offenders? Like sex offenders, and these are the child support offenders. And I think if they become a registered offenders, I think a lot of them, there'll be awareness, for children, and if they neglect like that. You ever thought about something like that? Chair?
Okay, so with that, that does complete your follow-up question, Chris.
Yes.
So with that, Honorable Delegate Dr. Inez for response with your agent.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Honorable. So you said city audience.
Thank you. I do have cases like that, and a lot of we call them non-custodial parents want to get out of child support by saying I'm in prison. My first question is, did your children put you in prison? And they say no. I said, then you brought children into the school. How are you going to take care of them? The majority of the ones that want to get out of child support, but it's not a means to get out of child support when you serve time in federal prison. There was one man who just put his whole, I would say, life into his children, and he made a change. He did find a job, and he did start supporting his children. So people who serve federal time, I don't think it's an excuse to not to kill your children. It's hard, it's hard for them financially, but it's harder for the children.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. City.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Inez. With that, committee members, are there any other questions? Honorable George Toll.
Chair, thank you. And glad to see Mr. Curtis back here. You cannot do off the record. Ma'am, I have some issue with, not an issue, but a concern. Who do you represent, like, chapter official employees? Because executive branch has their own protocol to read their cases. And some area, individuals being released from executive branch or legislative branch, judicial, you have a process of going through grievance. Is some of those cases come to you, or are you forbidden to take over those cases?
Okay.
So those are some concern that I'm looking at, and my understanding that anybody that comes to labor commission should, any employee should come to the labor commission to resolve the case. It's that process. How is the process right now? Because when I was a chapter official, one of the employees, she was a temporary employee, she grieved. In our policy said temporary employees do not have a recourse. But again, according to the attorney with chapter, Roger Higay, attorney justice department says, even though it's just temporary employee, they're full employees. So there's no such thing as temporary employee. I kind of disagree because our policy says this individual you hire is under EP and they're under temporary employee, they have no recourse. According to attorneys, that they have a recourse. So those issues that comes up. So I'd like to know, I guess they want to have an orientation sometime how the process works. Who is eligible to go through your labor commission? So that's the question I have. Even with the county, contract state and BIE, they have a new system. So those are some of the issues that's been out there. So can you explain that to me? How since you've been with it and sharing this labor commission, and you should, you should have. I mean, you probably have knowledge how it goes. Chair, thank you.
Yeah, Don Chikna, thank you for that. Moving on to next, the line of Honorable Curtis Unito.
Yes, I didn't quite hear your answer to your future plan for neglected children. And then my second one, I didn't have a clear understanding of, you introducing a registered child support offenders. And then thirdly, I'm thinking that, with all this offenders, they quit, working to support, child support, some, and then they go on, another relationship. And then somehow they just go along like that until the child turns 18. I noticed that, throughout my experience through school and so forth. And a lot of times I know that I grew up with a lot of kids like that. And those kids, it's just the same as like a sexual abuse, they're affected the rest of their life and they start, abusing alcohol and drug and so forth because, they didn't have a parent that always seen them while growing up. And those are the things that I'm thinking about. And on top of that, these offenders, they ask for chapter housing. And, why are they asking for chapter housing? Well, they're, not paying their child support or they're offenders. And so becoming an offender, I'm thinking this, I think there'll be awareness in the community. That, those are the questions I had. What's your thoughts on that?
So with that, thank you, Honorable Curtis Unito, for your questions again. Committee members, are there any other questions? If there's no other questions or comments, committee members, I will go ahead and give the floor back over to Honorable Delegate Dr. Andy Nez. And I do believe we do have another agent that just came into the room from Navajo Nation Labor Commission Office. So welcome. Yeah, so with that, Honorable Delegate Dr. Andy Nez.
Yeah, Chair, Mr. Vincent, thank you for being here. I think you came in at a timely portion of our convening here, as Mr. Holt has asked several questions related to where the Navajo Nation Labor Commission, as well as other improvements when it comes to instruction. So if you need Mr. Holt to repeat the question, I will allow Chair to have him repeat the question, but also to the city who heard the question. But thank you again, colleagues, for your questions. So essentially, I'll defer the time here to you to address Mr. Holt's questions, as well as the follow-ups from Honorable Courtesy Veto related to sex offenders, related to the future as your position with the Labor Commission.
In response to your question, Mr. Cole, first of all, the Navajo Nation Labor Commission is a hearing body. So we don't act as representatives for the respondents, and we don't act as representatives for the petitioners, where the judges will judge the evidence that comes through, and then we make a decision on how it's a 5 commission, so it's going to be the unanimous way of how the commission votes that will determine the outcome for a respondent or a petition. So we're kind of like judges, and my position as chair, I rule on all the evidence that comes in. If there's an objection here and an objection here, then I rule on it, and I'll say it's sustained or it's not sustained. Overruled. So we don't represent anyone. The way the case comes to us is by a complaint that's filed with the Labor Commission. When that complaint is filed, then we have the rules where they have a certain amount of days where they have to answer. And to your question about a temporary employee that you felt like didn't have to come to our hearing body. A lot of times it's going to be up to the Navajo Nation. In this case, probably would have been the Department of Justice to make an objection to her having filed there. And so if there was no objections made by the Department of Justice, and you're telling me that Attorney Roderick B. Gay told the chapter that that's not how it works. There's a lot of changes that has happened. The way changes have been made through the years. In the beginning, this case would have been solely at the Office of Hearings and Appeals, and it would have been a Navajo Nation case. And that's where it would sit. All the employees of the Navajo Nation file with the Office of Hearings and Appeals. We're Navajo Nation Labor Commission. And a lot of the investigation is done through the Office of Navajo Labor Relations. And this office, Navajo Nation Labor Relations, does the investigation. At the end of their investigation, they give a letter to the complainant for a right to sue. And when they have that letter for a right to sue, they can bring an action in Navajo Nation Labor Commission. I think it would be better if I had something that I could draw out but if no one makes an objection to that, then we'll hear the case. So there's a lot of motions that need to be done that don't get done. And so we go ahead and move forward with the case. Does that answer your question?
Mr. City, at this time, I'm gonna have you address these three vetoes, and if there's a follow-up, amendment, we'll go into them.
Okay. Through the law, Navajo Nation child support law, I'm only invested with child support hearings. Don't go further than custody, don't go to neglect, don't go to any abuse like that. So what it is the child. And all the money that we collect is always for our Navajo children from parents. Now, let me just say, we have children who are in guardianship status with a lot of grandparents. So we collect child support from the non-custodial parent and custodial parent to take care of the child. So the future, there's a lot of like case management, and it used to be a really long case docket that I used to take on, and I would do 37 cases in a day. But that has gone down to maybe 12 to 15 cases now, saying that we're caught up. The future is probably for the child support offices to bring more cases under the applications of these mothers that want the Navajo Nation to pursue child support for them. So child support made a lot of changes when there was the big circle of Hannah referring their child support cases to us. And there were we get state cases that come to us. This has gone away, so none of the families get child support referrals from Hannah anymore. That was a big caseload. And we can't share money because Navajo Nation has too many cases, and we're on a state system, and that state system is what runs a lot of the cases that come through. Keeps coming. So the future, we've collected 9 million, and the amount continues to grow. And when you talk about the families that don't collect services, that don't get any money, the application process has to happen. And if those families don't do it, then we can't do anything. But once they do their application, what they're saying is the Navajo Nation takes their rights to collect child support for them. And when that happens, then the Navajo Nation initiates the process. They do the complaint, and then the complaint comes to a docket for me to do the cases. So right now, like I said, I had a big docket 6 years ago of 37 cases, and now we've come down to like maybe 12 to 15, 20 cases. So I think in the future, I'd like to see the numbers increase with more applicants. And maybe there's not enough of us going out to the chapters to tell you how this can be done. You know, a lot of it is education. And then once the families are in the system and we do the cases, we have different tools that we use to work with. The courts don't have these tools. We have different tools. We can intercept their income tax. We can, revocate licenses in New Mexico. If that amount goes to 500, there's an automatic revocation. It's not done in Arizona, but they're working on it. So we have a lot of tools that we can work with to collect, child support. So the future looks hopeful. Where now. Did I answer your question?
Yes. I don't know.
No, again, we do have commission rules, so we'll entertain your question when it comes back for. But Mr. City, depending on what the bulk has to say, I know you asked for a board, and then I can just help my spots in this paper. I mean, so if you need to do a chart of some sort, but thank you for responding, Mr. City Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Endinez. With that, follow-up questions, Honorable George Toth.
Thank you, Chair, members. This is not follow question. Recommendation, Chair. Let's have schedule orientation right from the Office of Labor, how the process and changes. I'm aware of how it goes, but I'd like to hear the new changes. Because a lot of times employees being released their top position like at will, and they will go through that system. And I'd like to know more about it. So I think it's best to have an orientation set up so we know the process and explain to us. So thank you for your response. I know what you're saying, but it's just that some changes were made and some are not allowed to go to labor commission, so there's another conflict going on. So because this issue comes to people out there being fired, left alone, and I kind of disagree why the new director is not training or not giving people a chance to learn or train them to have self-development. It seems that we just throw them off and bring their own people, I kind of dislike that, so. Even additional, thank you, Chair.
Okay, and thank you, Honorable George Toth. With that, Honorable Dr. Andy Nance, if we can get some dates when there's some availability from now Nation Labor Commission Office to schedule an orientation, if that could be emailed to our legislative advisor, Ms. Benali, that would be helpful, and then CC all the committee members. And then we can continue on with our question at that point during the orientation. But in the meantime, if we can go back to the legislation number 0153-23, there is a motion that was made by Honorable Curtis Unito and Honorable George Toth. In particular to the legislations, are there any other questions on legislation 0153-23? Other than that, there are probably other questions, but we can take care of that during the orientation that we schedule with the Health Education and Service Committee. So with that, if there is no additional questions pertaining to the legislation that is before us, I will move forward to roll call vote. Honorable Curtis Unito.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the labor commission as far as contracting from the outside companies. Like an equal opportunity as far as like labor wages. But since we're gonna put on an education, it's orientation now for the at that time, just prepared for that. I just want to inform that to you.
Okay, sure. So with that, you do have a recommendation, and we would like to hear some more information at the orientation that we will schedule at that time. So this work with the Honorable Dr. Andy Nance to schedule that day orientation, and then with our legislative advisor, Ms. Benali.
Mr. Chair, you might there are two blocks to the preference law. You might say labor relations, the one that received that the question.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you there, Mr. Alitsui, because we do have committee rules and we have procedures. So with that, Honorable Curtis Unito, The way I understood your question was that you wanted it to be addressed at the orientation. It's not a question at the moment right now, but it will be something to prepare for the orientation as an action item when we do schedule that orientation.
I'll work with you.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, committee members, there is no other questions in regards to legislation number 0153-23. Ms. Edson, you have a question on your own legislation?
No, I just wanted to say that I want to thank all of you. You're all, the job that you do is I can't explain it. You're great people. So I'm overwhelmed about who you are. My God, I'm in this room. And I want to thank Mr. Mayor for putting this legislation so we can continue our public that great company.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you, Ms. Edson. So with that, we do have a motion made by Honorable Curtis Unito and Honorable Don George Toth with the recommendation to schedule an orientation. And there were some action items that were provided to the agents to prepare during the scheduled orientation. So with that, if there's no other additional questions, I will move forward to the roll call vote to legislation number 0153-23. Honorable Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson. Honorable Curtis Unito.
In favor?
Honorable Dr. Andy Nance.
Green.
Honorable George Toth.
Green, sir.
Honorable Helena Nance Begay.
I vote green.
With that, we do have 4 in favor, chair not voting. With that,
Fine.
or
Five.
5, that's 5, I'm sorry. 5 in favor. 5 in favor, chair not voting. With that, legislation number 015-31, excuse me, 0153-23 hereby passes here at Health, Education, and Human Service Committee. Congratulations, Ms. City. So with that, committee members, we will move forward on to new business. Item B, legislation number 0191-23. We do have sponsor here, Delegate Vince Davis, and co-sponsor Dr. Andy Nance. With that, Mr. Nolly, can you read this into the record?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. You have your proposed nomination, standing committee resolution to the Nomination Council, first year, 2023, introduced by Delegate Vincent James and co-sponsored by Dr. Andy Nez. Tracking number is 0191-23. An action relating to the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee approving a budget modification, increasing Fleet Management Department's business unit number 812003 in the amount of $4,450,940 for a total of $15,450,940. Mr. Chair, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee is the final authority for this legislation, and the document has been read in electronically read into the record. It does include Exhibit A, which is the a memorandum to the 164 document reviewers with all the I believe quotes that are as indicated. And then you have B, which is the program budget summary for the for business unit 812003, and it's a Fleet Management Department, indicating the changes have an approved modification in the FY23 budget. Also, attached is the transmittal letter from the Office of Legislative Counsel, and also the document has served its 5-day comment period from August 3rd, 2023 to August 8th, 2023. No comments, no public comments were received, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that, Shima, Mr. Nolly, for reading legislation number 0191-23 into record. We do have the sponsor and the co-sponsor here. So with that, if the co-sponsor is okay, I will let him sponsor the legislation 0191-23. Again, we do have our agent here, Mr. Polion, as well. So with that, I will give some, I will call for a motion. Committee members, do I have a motion in regards to legislation number 0191-23? Honorable Courtesy Anito and second by Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson. Committee members, there's two ways we could do this. We could go straight to a roll call vote of the legislation, or if we have any questions, then we'll provide 20 minutes to the co-sponsor and then also the agent. This legislation is just utilizing the proprietary funds, ADEA. That's funding that they've already allocated themselves as a department, funding that has been sitting there, so it's not pulling from any of the other funding for sources such as UUFB, CHEHSC, or anything. This is funding within the department's own funding that they have set aside, ADEA, and they want to purchase vehicles with that. So that's how this legislation is here before us. So with that, if there's no questions, if there is questions, we do have questions. So with that, I will give to the floor to the co-sponsor, Honorable Dr. Andy Nance, to legislation number 0191-23.
Akashine, I thank you, Shijak Chair James, Mr. Leon as well. Thank you for being here. Colleagues, before you do have legislation, check number 0191-23. With this, and Chair had just provided just preface to this on the proprietary funds allocated here. And for those of us who are at budget hearings, we received sort of a 101 on where proprietary funds come from. It's all internal, something that each division or programs inherently assume under their own department or division. And with this, these fundings are going to be allocated with respect to what fleet management is utilizing it for, which I'm happy Mr. Leon is here to further elaborate on these funding and its use. So at this time, Chair, I'll defer time here to Mr. Leon. Thank you.
Mr. Holian, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Dr. Nez. My name is Raymond Holian Jr. I'm the fleet manager for Fleet Management Department, going on my third year. I'm fairly new to the organization, so this is totally new to me. I'm kind of overwhelmed to be sitting here with you guys. It feels like you're sitting, being interrogated at the Senate Committee in U.S. Capitol. So that's all. A lot of respect for you, for all of you. So that's why I feel this. Manifestations now, Pokebus is Chin, Sana Prehidas is Jake. I reside in Port Defiance, mainly we came grown up. That's where I'm married. That's where my wife is from. I'm originally from a place called 28 Springs or Modas, and they stand now. It's in between Stand Rock and Kyoto Canyon, New Mexico. So that's where I'm living from. Yes, we're in dire need of replacing our vehicle fleet right now. Proposed to you, we have 60 of the law enforcement vehicles that are dire need to be replaced, and we have 11 of the OPVP vehicles that need to be replaced too. They have been experiencing vehicle problems that we said they've taken off with, so they're really in dire need replacing the vehicle. With that, that's my introduction. Thank you.
Chair, at this time, I want Mr. Holian to kind of elaborate a little more on not just your introduction, but the cost as well as the vehicle. Go in a little more depth on that.
Okay. We sent out an RFP, I think, back in March. As you know, with the economy the way it is because of the pandemic and COVID hitting us, we hadn't replaced our vehicles in the last 3 or 4 years now. So right now, majority of our vehicles are going over 150,000 miles. The one that we really targeted is the first responders, law enforcement. We identified 60 vehicles, and then 11 at the President's office, security guards in his vehicle, and Madam Vice President, and as the Madam Speaker as well. As you know, vehicles are hard to come by. You can go to a vehicle lot today, and you won't find any vehicles out there in the lot. And it made it very difficult for the industry to make vehicles and generate new vehicles. And there's two different types of vehicles. There's consumer use vehicles, that's what we all drive. And then there's a different category for fleet vehicles. They don't have the amenities as the consumer vehicles that we drive. They start lower than that. So with that, the manufacturer is focusing on the consumer vehicles, and every now and then they'll generate some of the fleet vehicles, and that's why there's a big shortage because we couldn't get vehicles. Fortunately enough, we got vehicles from HEHSC Chevrolet, and for the law enforcement vehicles and the fleet vehicles. But for the president's office vehicles, they couldn't find any vehicles, but just to pull them off the lot. So that's why there's a price difference in the police units and OPV vehicles. So I think the OPV vehicles are a little bit higher than more than luxury vehicles. But that's the only vehicle that we can find all throughout the state of Arizona. All the vehicle dealerships they don't sell vehicles out of state municipalities. They just do it within the state of Arizona. So right now we're in dire need because they're not going to hold on to those vehicles unless we have a purchase order. And I cannot get a purchase order unless I have funds currently in our budget, in our current fiscal year budget sitting there, our funds sitting there. So that's why we're asking for funding from our proprietary fund balance. And this balance is what we generated throughout the years we have it in the separate account. And it's primarily used to replace the vehicles that are aging. So like I said, everybody told me, why didn't you do this? We didn't have no vehicles to actually buy. The vendors out there, the companies that sell vehicles didn't have vehicles on the lot, so it was very difficult to buy. So even there was a lag there in the process. So exactly.
I got thank you for elaborating a little more. We're good on the side of chair. You can continue any additional questions or comments.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Dr. Andy Nance. That Honorable George Holt, questions, comment?
Thank you, Chair members. So, here, these vehicles. I'm just wondering if these vehicles are police compact or just regular vehicles. And I now see the VIP vehicles. They're big and long and wide, and only one person in that vehicle. I think you could come down to the small, but then I don't see Vice President carrying the whole of the staff. They always come in second, so we need to comp size those because why you spending a lot of money, we could get an extra small vehicle for them instead of a big one, Toyota or not Toyota, but Ford. Is it Toyota or Ford? Should be fine. So it's you have to save some money, and that's only being my concern is I never seen the president only one staff. I guess they put their luggage and sleeping back in the so those are some. I guess this fund came from a different account. I was worried about why it didn't happen during my budget hearing on the general service. So that's thing to mean that came from a different account. This could check. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable George Holt, Honorable Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson.
Good morning, thank you, and thank you to the sponsors of the legislation. Just
just reviewed this, really quickly. I'm thinking, I'm wondering if we absolutely have to stay with Chevy. I'm just thinking, you know, hearing about how, all the concerns about how we're not bringing in revenue, we're short on funds, we need new vehicles, we need new this, and vehicles is one of those assets that don't appreciate the moment 2,000 to 3,000 as soon as you take it off the lot. And so Chevy and looking at making the best use of our money and getting it to last a long time. I do like Chevy, I drive a Chevy, but I would rather look at maybe other cars that seem to me that last a little longer, like a Toyota. It's definitely, I think it's lasts longer than all these other cars, and of course the trade-in value is a little higher when you take it back in. I know there probably are going, I think the answer to that might be, we don't have the parts, so we can't get the parts quickly. So I've had only reason I know, sort of feel like I know a lot about cars is I've had fleets of cars. And I think, the Fords have held up a little better. The Hyundai, there's a Hyundai that I had out in Black Mesa region for a long time, which I very few times had to change like a lot of the struts and shocks and all of that good stuff. More so, it was less than I was doing on the Fords and the Chevys. So it to me was well built. And of course, I think you definitely want to get into Subaru for the road. And I'm just thinking about the road conditions in my area. The road conditions, I was thinking about it, you know, I've been thinking a lot about our travels the last few days, and the whole reservation, it varies, you know, so all through the winter, I didn't really get up into any of my chapters because from my home, either way is 13 to 15 miles of dirt road driving. And when it's muddy and it's snow, I'm not trying to drive through there, because if I were to get stuck or anything happened, it would be hours before anybody could come and get me and rescue me. So my conditions are different than probably a lot of the other delegates here that the chapter that you know, but that's a nice thing too. So I don't have that in my region. Probably the only one would be to Hard Rock. From my house to Hard Rock is I get a good amount of pavement. So I'm just thinking about the cars, what they go through while they're out there. I see a lot of my senior programs are complaining about the cars they received within the last few years. They're just not, they're not appropriate for the conditions we're in. And so I'm looking at all of your older fleet cars. I'm like, these are the ones that will be appropriate for out there, not the newer ones. And then also, you know, differentiating between like who does a lot of highway driving and what kind of cars will be appropriate for here. Talking about the cost saving, we probably really need to start looking at electric cars. And I'm looking at the Inflation Reduction Act. I don't know if anybody took an opportunity to research that and how, if it's a tax credit or a rebate, you know, if we could get some money back, if we were to buy a fleet of those cars, could we get would we be eligible for a rebate or a credit from Biden's Act? And if so, could that be some cost savings towards, you know, what we're trying to do here? So those are just multiple questions I'm wondering about, and so.
Honorable Courtesy Nito.
Yeah, I just have questions on, you know, looking through this. You know, what are they used for, like 7 passengers or 9 passengers? There's 1 unit and 4 units. And then there's patrol units of 10 units. and another for 40 patrol room. One be white and one be black, just like one difference there. And then looking at, the costs here, you all said Tahoe on there, maybe the most expensive one. Like, Simonson mentioned here. And, they're all graded in different level and, if you wouldn't go that route, I think you gotta go with the plain Jane thing. All the manuals and roll down windows and so forth, you'll see a lot of costs and with these kind of brand, it doesn't say if this is LT or LTX or something like that, because when I see those vehicles out there, just like Cole said, they're just, one person with, with a big vehicle like that, and then, as far as like, they're like gas cars as well, four-wheel drives and I don't know how, I mean, there's a lot of units here, 40 and 10, and I don't know where all they're stationed at, because when I hit the reservation roads, I don't even hardly patrol car coming, my directions, just until I get here. I see a lot of them here in town here, but not out there where it's needed. And I just want to know where all these positions, vehicles are going to be placed at, or is this the first time that you guys want to do this? And then the next question would be like, I don't know if it's indicating in here that, you're trading, how much are the values on this 150 mileage on these vehicles that you have? Is there a trading cost in your requisition here? There.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Honorable Helena Nance begin.
I'll just make it quick. So Senator Josh for stopping this legislations and in my the council and our legislative go visitor and Mr. Raymond I was in a coalition employee before. Sometimes the new events that was up for the senior centers. I don't sound actually on that was like having problems with it. When it gets on the dirt road and on the mud, I don't go into that. So I call he made a sports utility for wheel, all that. But probably during the winters, probably the only time that you could use that, but other than that, or airplane bay on the street, don't it? Let's go down again now. I call, but it's I see that the oil is kind of high. And if you're getting more vehicles, negotiate with them, try to ask them to drop their prices. And if it's just one bid right here, I'm sure you can go elsewhere to get more bids. This is just one bid that we're looking at, and this courtesy Chevrolets, and I think, well, we're the only one that's going to respond on some of the I purchase vehicles a lot on my own. I'll call it. Then I have a cousin that does sell vehicles too. I'll put something up, but this even the more you get, is the drop the prices for us as now coalition. And I'm sure that you can have someone that can do that. These are kind of high numbers, the way I see it. And although I need when I was a Navajo Nation employee, you treat these vehicles like your own, and I see a lot of people don't. So that's either on the thought that was being scoffed, you know, on that, teaching, but all the things that they taught them. Especially when I'm driving my own vehicle, I sometimes see this vehicle, travel vehicle zoom by. I call a in the heart at the partial, yeah, the young, so. Although some of them don't even last 5 years on their, I know because of the mileage that you guys go back in, but. His senior, Suburban is going on to 7 years and we're still pushing it, you know. I call it that. So, so 还是欧亚他们要新的多 will last longer though. You know, even though, the mileage and all of that, but she in general, though, especially if you're gonna get them out and all that. They thought them never not equal when we can fit them out again. So, you know, they need to really take care of these vehicles. And you're opening on which of the showing that back 20 years ago, we used to have, when we go to these, defensive driving, it's not like that anymore. So, so these vehicles, you just have one bid all the way down, and I think we should see more bids on this. That's all I want to say back to you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, very much, Shade, for the comment. And, other committee members for your comments and questions. In regards to, the budget form, just know that the budget form that's attached to legislation 0191-23 under exhibit B, we already approved that budget under general service. So that was part of their binder. And we didn't have any questions at that time. When it came before us as a committee. So I think that we're starting to have all these questions and comments when we already approved the budget. So on there, in exhibit B, it does indicate that the total vehicle budgeted was for 71 vehicles. And so it's on there. And then under the same exhibit B, under budget form 4, which was part of our budget that we received from general service. It does have all the vehicles listed there of the unit process. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, that we already approved this budget as HEHSC, and it came before us as general service provided their budget. And then on top of that, as you can see, I believe it's under the attachment, the bidding process, how it went through the procurement process. So that's a very lengthy process to get to where these guys are at right now, going through the bidding process. And most likely, usually, since we're a long time customer, which I'm still surprised of, is that Courtesy Chevrolet is still willing to work with the Navajo Nation when we have bad credits with other vendors. I'm still surprised that they're still willing and wanting to work with the Navajo Nation, even though we don't make our payments on time. So that I know the nation's been in a working team effort with them, and usually the way I understood the legislation too was that they've already discounted the vehicles based off previous purchases that have been made through that vendor. And so I guess it's just all part of the bidding process as well. So they've done their part to do what they can to assist the Navajo Nation, but that is a lot of vehicles. That's all I gotta say. 71 vehicles is a lot, and I don't think all of the vehicles are going to office and vice president's office. I think majority of these vehicles are going to our public safety, which we all have concerns on within our communities or in the chapters that we represent. So that is 40 units. At the same time, under public safety, they're also in more training of police officers. So we do have young Navajo individuals out there that are currently in the process of completing their boot camp. Is that how you say it, Honorable George Toll? The training police academy. There you go. We need to have some sort of vehicles ready for them as well. And majority of these vehicles are going to our public safety as patrol units, and majority of this funding is going to public safety as well. If you could look at budget 4, it has a detailed budget of the breakdown of vehicles. So I just wanted to mention that we already approved these budget forms, and here we are at this legislation. So with that, I just wanted to mention what was attached to legislation 0191-23, and I will give the floor back to Honorable Dr. Andy Nez as co-sponsor to have the agent respond back to committee members' comments and questions. So with that, Honorable Dr. Andy Nez.
Okay, she's Chair, and to my colleagues here for your observations as well as your questions, and please note for. So at the time, I'm going to go back to Mr. Holyoke to address not only your comments, but also answer some good questions. And thank you, Chair, for highlighting those areas. Sometimes I think it's overlooked in many cases, but thank you for pointing out. Mr. Holyoke.
Okay, in response to Honorable Coates' question regarding the top load for the president of OPD vehicles, the vehicles were based on the mileage and their repairs, and it's the same vehicle that they had previously. We didn't try to switch out, they had a Tahoe in place, so we decided to replace them with the Tahoe, not this then and anything else. And again, like I said, there's a vehicle shortage throughout the country. And this is the only type of vehicle that we can get a hold of. I know the seven passengers or seat limits people in the vehicle, but that's the only vehicle that we could get this time. Other than that, we would have to wait probably till next year, January or something like that, before they get caught up in making new vehicles and send them out to the various ones throughout the country. So that's why we've just replaced vehicle for the president's office. And then for delegate Simonson's questions on why Fords and why Chevys and stuff like that. The reason why we kind of dedicate ourselves to Chevy is because of the software that we use, our scanning software that we use for the vehicles. These devices that troubleshoot the vehicles, everything's electronic right now with the vehicle, as you know. And the devices that we use, the diagnostics that we use for the vehicles are very expensive. And we invest a whole lot into the Chevys and in the Ford. Unfortunately, they're really expensive. And as we go out to Toyota or those foreign vehicles, they get even more costly at that time. I think as far as parts is concerned as well too, it's a little bit faster for us to get parts on American vehicles instead of foreign vehicles. So that's the reason why we kind of dedicate ourselves to Chevy import vehicles. But in the future, when we make that transition to go to electric vehicles, I guess at that time we can entertain that. In addition to electric vehicles, that's something that we will begin entertaining more so probably in the next couple of years. We need more education on that, not only for myself, but only with the technician that will be servicing these vehicles and stuff like that. So once we get to that, we'll entertain that a little bit more and we'll start moving in that direction. Right now, I think just getting a local vehicle that we have for here and when we're looking for the clients, we'll probably do some test runs with the electric vehicle. We'll probably start with a small fleet and see how they are able to operate for that, just in a little bit heavier. Then after that, we'll probably branch out. So yes, that's something mine's for electric vehicles. Again, with the vehicles in the terrain we drive, our main focus is trying to right-size vehicles. right sizing vehicles, I mean, what does that person's occupation? What do they do that, what type of vehicle while they've been driving, where do they drive and doing? So, once we get information to that, we try to get the various departments, the vehicle that they need, that they go out into the office, go out into the field on a daily basis, that they would prefer them to drive a pickup truck rather than a sedan. So that's some of the things that that's what I'm talking about when I say right sizing vehicles. In addition to that, we have building maintenance people that drive a different kind of vehicle that have a service part, and just so they can carry their building parts and materials and their equipment as well. So even when we land surveyors too, they've got different type of vehicles. And then, as you well know, that law enforcement, they have cages that have different modifications on the vehicles. And I like to say that the price on the PD vehicle is a little bit more as well, because they put in cages, they put in lights, sirens and stuff like that in the car. It makes it cost go a little bit higher. So that's some of the things that we are addressing at this time as well. Right now, along with the vehicle shortage, it's the same with parts. Parts are probably backlog anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks on the parts, and that's making it harder for us to repair vehicles. And the cost of them is really high as well. Just like anything, you go to the grocery store and prices are unbelievable, and they're not what they were before COVID. The pandemic, where you're driving the cost of goods very high, and the way we do business is not feasible in what we used to do business in previous pre-COVID years. And then for Honorable in this question on the 7 passengers again. I think I kind of alluded to that earlier, that this is all they had in their inventory that they bidded on, the 7 passenger vehicles and stuff like that. And the patrol vehicle too as well. There's only so many white vehicles that we can get. I think 40 of the white vehicles that we have, and I think 20 of the vehicles are black, and that's the only vehicles that we can get. So that's why the color changes in that area. And the other question he asked is locations on the vehicles and where they are going to be located at. For the patrol vehicle, they're going to be in Crown Point, they're going to be in Shiprock, they're going to be in Chinle, for the city, and Delcon, and even Woodrock. So it's not specifically just in one location, it's going to be throughout the private agencies. Again, it's based on vehicle mileage and some of the vehicles that we desperately need to replace. As far as trading is concerned, in my previous occupation with a company before I worked for, before joining the nomination, we got away from trading in vehicles. A lot of the vendors that we dealt with, they didn't give us anything back on the vehicles that we traded. So it wasn't cost efficient for us to do trade-ins. Same here with this scenario. It's not cost efficient for us to do trade-ins. We'd rather go outside and sell back to our network people. We get more for that particular vehicle. But that's why we got away from the trade-in vehicles. And then for Honorable Brigades questions on the senior citizen vans and vehicles and stuff like that. Again, we're trying to right size, provide the various departments on the vehicle that they would need, depending on their job occupation and what they do, whether they drive and field or if they just drive on the highways and stuff like that. And as far as breeding is concerned, we advertise, I think, for 30 days in the newspapers, Phoenix, Albuquerque, I think even Denver. And this is the only response that we have. I think there was 2 response, one from Albuquerque and one from courtesy. And the one in common figure was insufficient. The bid was insufficient, so we only got two. So that kind of gives you an idea that there's a vehicle shortage and not too many people are doing vehicles. I understand that we need to probably deal, negotiate a little bit more and that's an ongoing thing that we need to work on with that. And as far as the care of these vehicles, yes, a lot of the vehicles are not being driven the way they should be driven. We're might go to a GPS system on the vehicles that are embedded in the vehicles that tell us when the vehicle starts up, when it's shut off, when it's idle, just sitting there, or whether it's someone speeding or someone's driving recklessly. We can get the information from here. And to me, it's kind of ridiculous to go to a GPS system. All of us should know how to take care of the vehicle and drive according to policy. But again, if we go to a GPS device, it's going to be pretty costly. That's something that we're, again, going to entertain, see how cost efficient that would be, if it really is going to help us in one way. The previous organization that I worked with, GPS, worked fairly well for us because we had a vehicle that was stolen. And I actually was in contact with police officers to locate the vehicle right to the exact point where that person was driving. So that technology and working that space. So with that, that's concludes my question on the Dr. Moss.
Oh, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Andy Nance. Committee members, are there any additional follow-up questions? Honorable Helena Nance begin.
Just a follow-up question. I know, these vehicles, you're saying that it's gonna be, for law enforcement. When you go out to the fleet, almost at every fleet across the nation here, you see the vehicles, they're really damaged. So, it's either that they slow down if they don't know how to drive fast, it's just like that. It's just, we know that they're law enforcement, but if they don't know how to drive and control a fast vehicle. So every fleet I know that I went to, they always had one or at least two vehicles that's from the police department. The brand new one I know was total. So they need to be more responsible. I mean, they're human just like us. So they need to be more responsible. If they don't know, they need to slow down. If they don't know how to drive fast, or they need to call somebody else ahead so they don't have to speed. So I know almost every fleet has like two vehicles that belong to law enforcement. Thank you.
And thank you, Honorable Helena Nance begin. Are there any other follow-up question? Honorable Curtis Unito?
I asked for the trade value and you respond, right? It's not good to trade them because a lot of these vehicles, they're worth more as they're kind of you trade in a vehicle, they only offer you $1,000 on it. So that's really covered that. I'm glad you did that. And then you mentioned that you sell them to the public. How do you guys advertise for those? And I know that one time, this one guy, he was driving this one old motorcycle. I think in the 60s, it belonged to the police, naval police, that it was a really nice bike. The only damage was, the tire. He was trying to buy a tire, so I bought him new tires for that. And then, I was wondering about that, because I said, where'd you get this bike at? He goes, I went to that police station over there, and that one nation, there's a bunch of that in the junkyard in the back. I said, like that, people that are not aware of the advertisement, what needs to be sold out and so forth. And I'm just wondering, you know, where all these gonna, maybe an auction will take place or something like that. How do you guys go about that? I know that you just mentioned that you're just a new employee to the department. And then my last question would be, I'm not really aware about the fleet management. Do you only cover the public safety department or others? Like, senior citizen passenger rides or so forth? That was my last question, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Curtis and Nico. I believe that during the budget hearing, one of my comment was that somehow these vehicles should be given to one vehicle given to each chapters. So that could be a recommendation. I don't think that has ever been done in the past before. Instead of trying to resell it to the public or having that public sale, they just give one vehicle to each chapter. If they're more than willing to take that vehicle. I think our chapters are in need of vehicles out there as well, but that's something that would also require additional meeting and discussion that would eventually that would take place between General Service Fleet Department and HEHSC Department, see how we can move forward. But yeah, just wanted to just give a little heads up on the comment that I made. So committee members, if there's no other additional comments, I will give the floor back to Honorable Dr. Andy Ness.
Thank you, Chair and colleagues, for your comments as well as the follow-up.
You want me to address? Oh, okay, sorry. For Delegate Gay's comment on the law enforcement vehicle, we are working with the chief on the vehicles. In a lot of ways, I get angry that our laws right here, why chase a vehicle down and you end up wrecking a PD's vehicle and the only time that just gonna slap that guy under this. And it doesn't make sense to give a fine for $100 and we wreck for $60,000 vehicle. That doesn't make sense. So we have to be mindful of that. But he assured me that I guess the academy cadets and some of their officers are going to driver training, high speed training. They are soliciting services from I think the state, teaching how to drive through high chase scenarios, courses and stuff like that. So they're working on that. So hopefully that is in place right now. So,
Teach that during my time and set up training course. That's great. Days are unbelievable.
yeah. The one I was curious was about I think one of the recommendations they made was for the lower age to 18 for law enforcement officers. I said that's kind of scary because 18-year-old you're driving the police vehicle and you're in a high-speed chase, and how's he gonna handle that? You know, so
No, we got a young president, so we should make it.
yeah. And then Honorable Yanenko, his comments, question was on the public sale. The auction and the resale of the vehicles, we don't do that ourselves. It's given back to property management, they do the sale. So they do the advertisements, advertisements are usually seen on the OOC website, so you can inquire on that. Even at that with the department manager for property management, I've been working with her. We're trying to set up to where we're using outside auction firm to sell these vehicles on. They do all the sales online. I know a lot of the previous delegates wanted now before people get the first auction and stuff like that. And the people that we're working with right now is a nationwide firm that they'll have the bid openings online to all Native American personnel. And then if it doesn't sell it category, then they'll go to the next auction. Anybody throughout the country will be able to bid on these vehicles.
So we're hoping to implement that to expedite the sale of these vehicles and get these vehicles off of our lots. So we're hoping that that comes to fruition as we continue to move forward in the fiscal year. As far as our oversight on vehicles, it's fleet, the entire fleet. It's not just PUD. Down decks, all the various programs, so we oversee all the vehicles out there.
You said this.
And then Honorable James questions on donating or giving the chapters and stuff like that. Like I said, we're a proprietary firm at a price, yeah, we can probably negotiate something with the chapters. It's funny because I think our program, I know our program works efficiently. For any of the vehicles that you issue out, you put a price on that vehicle. When there's money involved, people are a little bit more mindful in taking care of that vehicle. Basically, the laws should have watched it on the should have, but we're, hundreds in them. So we've seen that. So once there's a price to it, I think people are more mindful of taking care of their safety. And anything that's just like us, we buy a new vehicle. We're the same way that I check about that. Oil changes are routine. And the Honda. So I think that's, I know that's a good program. With that, I'm more confident.
Thank you, Mr. William. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Andy Nance, and then also Agent Mr. Holion for the response. Committee members, are there any other questions, follow-ups in regards to legislation number 0191-23? Going 2 times. Any other questions? Going 3 times. Okay. Roll call vote for legislation number 0191-23. Motion was made by Honorable Curtis Unito, second by Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson. With that, Honorable Vice Chair, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Curtis Unito,
In favor.
Honorable Dr. Andy Nance,
Green.
Honorable George Toth,
Green, sir.
Honorable Helena Nesbegay.
Green.
With that, we have 5 in favor, Chair not voting. With that, the legislation number 0191-23 hereby is motion approved. And the last final authority of this legislation is Health Education and Human Service Committee. So congratulations to the Department of General Service, Division of General Service, and Department of Fleet Management. So, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I just want to say, with great respect, I know you all served the nomination to a great degree to make the nomination better. At one time, your parents or your grandparents probably said those prayers for you. One day that you're going to leave the positions, now it's going to pass. So I'm grateful that you guys are doing your job. So I hear that. I'm curious to inspire.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, again, congratulations, and moving on to the next item, item number 8, which is close of meeting. We do have one announcement. Here, I think we do have several announcements. So with that, I will go to the first one, and the first announcements. Honorable Dr. Andy Nance.
Yeah, good morning, colleagues. Thank you. We do have a visitor joining us from Western Agency, who I will allow some time to introduce himself and make a brief announcement. Yeah, thank you for obliging me there.
Okay, thank you, Chair and everyone here. My name is Jesse Maloney. I've worked at Divinity College for 10 years. My wife is Julie Maloney. She's been an employee at Tuba City Regional Healthcare Center for 15 years. For the past 15 years, we have lived at Tuba City Regional Healthcare Corporation housing. My wife is currently a complainant against her job. We went through the whole process of Navajo Labor Relations, Labor Commission, and we have currently pending dates with the commission to litigate issues at work. My understanding is that as citizens of the Navajo Nation, we are allowed to adjudicate issues without fear of retaliation. Tomorrow, we are set to appear in district court to be evicted. Last week, he showed up at the Labor Commission to ask for an injunction relief to stay in our housing while these cases were pending. We were served at the doors of the Labor Commission, and housing was immediately leveraged against.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me stop you there. Honorable Dr. Andy Nance, do you recommend that we go into executive session? If we could just elaborate general information and not go into depth detail. That if we are agreeable of that, then that would be okay to continue to move on. But other than that, if we're gonna start naming and doing court stuff and put name on the record and so forth, I think that would require us to go into executive session.
I understand.
But just to keep it general, just a general overview, that would be helpful as an announcement.
Okay. I understand, and I thank you for that. So I will not comment on anything regarding the cases, just that they're happening. Okay.
Chair.
Honorable George Toll.
Is that second session to walk for like 15 minutes?
Okay, so a motion is made by Honorable George Toth to go into executive session for 15 minutes. Honorable Dr. Andy Nance makes that second. Committee members, are there any other questions? There's no questions. We will go on to roll call vote to go into executive session for 15 minutes. Mr. Malone, you can stay during this executive session to provide your presentation during the executive session. And then staff will stay here with us as well. I think it will just be OMB that would be excusing themselves. So with that, for 15 minutes until 10:15, committee member to go into executive session, motion made by Honorable George Toth and second by Honorable Dr. Andy Nez. Honorable Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Don Curtis Tianito,
Green.
Honorable Dr. Andy Nez,
Green.
Honorable George Toth,
Green, sir.
Honorable Helena Nez Begay.
Green.
With that, we do have 5 in favor and chair not voting. So with that, we are currently in executive session for 15 minutes. We will resume back with our agenda at 10:15 and exit out of executive session at
Okay, you're on record, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you again, Health, Education, and Human Service Committee. We were currently in an executive session. We did complete our executive session, and with that, we do have a motion to exit out of executive session. Motion made by Honorable George Toth, second by Honorable Curtis Unito. With that, are there any questions, committee members, to exit out of executive session? Going twice, 3 times. With that, Honorable Vice Chair, how do you vote?
Agree.
Honorable Curtis Unito.
Green.
Honorable Dr. Andy Nez.
Green.
Honorable George Toth.
Green.
Honorable Helena Nesbitt.
Agree.
With that, we do have 5 in favor, and then chair not voting to exit out of executive session. So with that, we are back on our agenda. We did complete the one announcement that was provided to us. Next one is in regards to Division of Health. I contacted Michelle Morse with Division of Health. And she indicated that Executive Director Russell had a meeting this morning with staff, and they're still making edits to the OMB email that they received. They will provide another update by the end of today regarding Division of Health. And so at the same time, right before I got here, I was on the call with Chair Honorable Shandine Parrish, and she was trying to identify which committee should go first on their agenda for this week. And I just informed her just to have Resource and Development Committee go and have them provide their budgets regarding their department, their oversight departments. And she indicated what is the possibility of HEHSC beginning either Thursday afternoon or Friday. And I just informed her that that's going to be a tough call for me to make because at this point, I don't know an answer from Division of Health. And so her response was, maybe what you could do is provide the oversight departments that HEHSC has already approved, and then we'll just wait on Division of Health somewhere down the road again. But we will see how things play out. At the same time, I did contact Dana as well. And I asked her if we could just add on budget hearing for Division of Health on our meeting either today, this morning, or tomorrow as agenda. And she said that would be okay to do as well, where we don't have to have a separate budget hearing just for Division of Health. But again, it all depends on Division of Health of the binder that they need to prepare, and then corresponding with the email that they received from OMB on Friday. So they're still working on it. So at this point, I don't know when we'll be hearing from the Division of Health to get a completion of our budget hearing for our oversight departments. That's my only announcement. So just be on standby. I know we won't have a quorum on Friday. I already know that there's 3 committee members that are not available on Friday. So Friday is out the door already. And so HEHSC, I know Friday's out. And so next week, depending on what OMB, depending on the Division of Health, when they get their documents all situated and taken care of based off the email that they received. So so we'll just wait. I know Law and Order Committee they just started their budget hearing today, so they're still in the process. And I believe HEHSC just has that one Budget and Finance. I believe they have 2, or are they done with that last 2? Do you guys know anything? Yes, but no.
What I understand, I haven't seen it, is that they did consent agenda on the budgets.
Oh,
And then they're finished.
okay.
That's what I heard.
All right. I guess they're gonna, okay, if they want to do that. Then
So what happens if we don't get to it this week?
We just wait, we just hold the whole process up and wait for division of health.
Mhm. So prior, I know, I can understand her, that there was a, I mean, she knew, right, it was barely 1 month old. But I'm wondering if prior to her, the previous director had put anything together that they could go off on. I don't know, I know those are questions. But
Yeah,
we had a conversation.
She is new, but then there's staff that have been there for over a year.
Yeah.
The staff have gone through this budget process before, when it gets done for years, they know what needs to happen, they know what needs to be put together. It's not like he's the only one at that division department. They've been doing it, it's not the first time, so. We'll just wait on them and then go from there. Shema?
I went and just called Anslet, that's one of the contact person. I told him to go ahead, bring one of his binders so I can compare with him. So we can be on the same page.
Okay,
And he said, okay, when you get back to the office, if you can call.
all right, so if you can do that and once it's ready, maybe to shoot an email over to Ms. Benali, and then she can disseminate that information to us, and wherever we are getting ready to go to bed or something, we can start reviewing it. That way, when we meet on it, we just go straight directly to question instead of trying to go over the whole
can
process.
dream about it.
Dream about it, something, I don't know. But thank you,
Yeah.
Shema, for coming out. Again,
Mr.
your
Chair.
excuse. Ms. Benali?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Health Education Human Services Committee, just like, okay, we need like at least 24 or maybe 26 hours to get a meeting done. I have to submit a meeting request for the committee to do a separate budget meeting. It's not like the regular special meeting, it's a budget meeting. And then we need 24 hours notice. They need to get the agenda posted and then they can have their meeting. So you're talking like the day before. And then just let me know and then I can work like on it for the following day if there's time. But no later than like Wednesday at 9. Then that would give me enough time, at least an hour to get the request and agenda out. But I'll just have it ready.
Yeah, I'll work with them today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think we might be looking at a meeting on Thursday, perhaps. At the
Yeah, maybe
latest.
we were just talking about it, maybe Thursday at 8, committee members, Thursday at 8.
Okay.
And the honorable Dr. Nez is at 7.
I agree.
You guys want 7 a.m. or?
Well, if ONB, if ONB works with DOJ,
Yeah.
they'll I think ONB will bring out all the discrepancies or correct them ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, I'll help.
Yeah, that way it should be a concise budget.
What do you prefer as OMB? I know you guys don't talk in the 8:30, 9, or is 8 okay?
8 is fine.
8 is okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so Thursday morning at 8,
Okay.
Thursday morning at 8.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll try it. We'll look at BNF, but if BNF isn't, then we're gonna have maybe LOC if they're done.
Yeah,
Okay.
or either here again, or maybe Division of Health has a conference room or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, they have a big conference.
Yeah, Division of Health.
Admin? The other thing, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Is that I'm looking at DIB and the, I believe that the resolutions that you signed already,
Mhm.
that the committee already approved the budgets, earlier in last week. They haven't been posted on DIB yet. And so those are, we've already submitted that for engrossment. And then the ones from last Thursday and Friday, we're working on those to be engrossed. It has to go through at least 3 people within our office to double check before it's accepted on the DIB, posted on the DIB. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Mr. Chair, regarding the resolutions that have been signed, I did submit them and we did review them. You had signed it and they gave us a different engrossment page that it has to go through legislative council first before they can be able to accept it and have it be posted. So we've been busy all week last week. I wasn't able to get Kristen to review it and have her sign it. Kristen is, I believe, working from home today because I have her online. Other than that, I'm not too sure who else I can just give it to OLC for engrossment.
Maybe, maybe Dana can sign on her behalf.
Yeah. So the other ones, I gotta, I have the resolution set and everything. It's just we need to make sure that I have the correct exhibits attached to the resolutions.
All right, thank you for that.
Chair, this is
update, and we'll
Kristen.
just see how far we can get with it today again. All right. So with that, I think we're good now. We're done with O and B, correct? Okay, thank you. For coming and providing that information update for. With that, so we'll schedule August 17th, budget hearing at 8 a.m. Which is Thursday. And then the location will be TBA will be to determine once we find availability. Just go by the agenda that will be emailed out. August 17 at 8 a.m. Thursday. Not just come.
Not just come.
Oh. So with that, next one is did you have an announcement?
I'm sure the liaison for S from speaker's office.
Okay.
I'm just seeing if they didn't use it.
Oh, okay. All right then. Moving on, August 16th. Special meeting in lieu of a regular meeting on August 14th. At Fire Rock Conference Room, Church Rock. Again, that will happen tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. All of that has been confirmed. Myself and Vice Chair, we received a Shamrock Rehabilitation Recovery email, and they're wanting to do a presentation, and they're willing to purchase our breakfast for us at Fire Rock. So they'll be joining us tomorrow. They're not on the agenda. They're just going to present while we're eating or whatnot, depending where we are at on the agenda. Or once we complete our agenda, then they can present as well. So 8 a.m. So they'll be providing breakfast for us tomorrow. The CEO from gaming confirmed everything. So that's all squared away.
Which room?
Bingo hall. Yeah. Bring your dabbers. Yeah, bring your dabbers. So that's tomorrow at 8 a.m. After our presentation is completed, we will all report to afterwards. We will also, depending on how our schedule is and how far we are on the time, we'll schedule, get you guys also measured tomorrow. So that will take place tomorrow as well. So 8 a.m. But we'll, yeah. So we'll
Information on our poster.
So we'll see how far we get on the agenda. On the agenda tomorrow. We'll see how far we get on our agenda tomorrow, and then we'll proceed with that if need to tomorrow. But it'll just be based off our agenda and when we complete our meeting. So and then we'll have more detail tomorrow in regards to that. But that will take place after the adjournment of our meeting. And then August 21st, 2023 regular meeting, which will be next Monday, Chibai City Regional Healthcare Conference Room. We did receive an email of the location direction on how to get to that conference room as well. So if you can please check your email. We did receive that. I think it's still.
It's at 10, right?
That's at 10. Oh, that's at 10 a.m. So with that, if there's no other announcements, committee members, I believe the other last announcement is that we do have another meeting, budget hearing going on right now at the council chambers in There's no quorum, but they're moving forward with reports. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? If there's no other announcement, motion made by Curtis Unito, second by Leila. Second, Honorable Helena Nesbigay. Committee members, any question in regards to adjournment? Adjournment at 10:37 a.m. No questions. With that, Honorable Vice Chair, how do you vote?
Agree.
Honorable Curtis Unito. Honorable Dr. Andy Nance. Honorable George Toll.
Okay.
Honorable Helena Nesbigay.
I vote agree.
With that, we do have 5 in favor and chair not voting, and we are hereby adjourned at 10:37 a.m. Okay, thank you. We'll see you at the time.
I'm going to get to the answer now. Yes, anyway.